Good morning, good morning, good morning. What is up, everybody? Hope you are doing well this morning. JT here with another Xtrades FOMO live stream. I hope you are having a fantastic week so far. It has certainly been quite the roller coaster. That's probably the right way to say that, as far as the markets go. But you can still make money on the roller coaster, right? That's the key. So, what's up, Navy Plum? Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. I'm just getting the rest of my charts set up here. Let's get over to our other trade plan for XYZ. This one's played out really nicely, so we're going to talk about that here this morning. And then I know I've got a couple of trade plans from uh, Tuesday's stream, which I should have under. Ooh, I gotta work on getting these templates memorized and favorited and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Thursday's at 1. Well, that should have been. No, that's last Thursday. Sorry. Let's see. Yeah, I think we did laser this week, or was that last week? Yeah, no, that was Tuesday. Okay, cool. Nope, that's good to go. All right. I'll figure out the other ones as we make our way through things here this morning. All right, so let's get over to the ES chart. Let's start digging into what's been going on here with SPY, ES, etc. Getting a little bounce here pre-market. I know we had some data coming out, but I have not seen how that data came in. So let's take a look at that real quick. Hey, screen sharing. Yep, thank you, Navy Plum. Keep on me. Make sure I don't get too far into these things without checking all my boxes, especially if I'm running a little bit behind like I am this morning. So far from a technical standpoint, I mean, it's looking just like a bounce off the bullish flag, 200 SMA, but those SMAs are still looking really bearish. Let's take a look at, excuse me, what data came out this morning. Ugh, why? Oh, man. Sorry. Let me get logged into my trading economics page. Oh, sorry. Signed out of this apparently. There we go. So, what did we have this morning? Jobless claims. Claims came in a little higher than the previous reading and a little lower than the consensus previous reading, 221,000. Consensus was we would see about 224, and we came in at 223. So, jobless claims, initial claims ticking up. Manufacturing index. Yeah, it came in pretty hot last time. Consensus was it was going to be a lot lower, and it was still pretty hot. So that's kind of an interesting one. And then we've got existing home sales at 10 o'clock this morning. So shortly after market open, don't forget about that as you look to get into some trades today. Don't get caught in that, first 30 minutes and then have that home sales number do something, excuse me, jack up your position. So, all right, let's take a look at ES. Like I said, these SMAs looking quite bearish still. They are starting to level out a little bit here on the hourly. Let's take a quick look at the 30 minutes, see how we're faring there. Starting to get some signs of things flipping over here on the 30 minutes. That's good. Nice little confluence down there with the 200 SMA and TS bull flag. Looking pretty good there, and that's kind of similar to the confluence that we saw. So kind of multiple confluences. The 200 SMA on the hourly also happened to be there, just kind of coming from a different direction. So yeah, kind of interesting push this morning off of that combination. We did break over some key levels that we shared in the chat yesterday, but again, from an ES perspective, I think that which is really what we should be paying the most attention to as we try to kind of navigate current market sentiment. Definitely looking, we still need to get over this 5,800 level is kind of the key for me before things really start to look like, okay, maybe we make a decent push from here. Maybe we test current all-time highs and maybe even make new all-time highs. That's not out of the question either. But sorry, get a little coffee in there. But overall, we're still kind of in a very volatile, choppy range. Again, anywhere in this 5,800 to 5,561 could be a lot of just violent whipsaw. So be very careful, especially if you're trying to load longer term positions. You don't want to get caught in a bunch of volatile chop that ultimately just winds up being theta decay. So anyway, that is what it is. Let's keep things rolling here this morning. What's up, Unknown Reviews? Good morning to you. BLK. We'll take a look at BLK. What is BLK? I don't know. That's a good one. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. I don't know that one off the top of my head, which is, you know, unusual. What is the best way to do I'm guessing, straddle for SPY to make good profit? Oh, okay, BlackRock, got it. Best way to do a straddle on SPY. Now, here's the thing that as long as I've been trading, I still flip these things back and forth. Straddle and strangle. So straddle is where you take kind of equidistant call and put positions, or is that where that's an iron condor, or is that where you sell? Remind me the difference between a straddle and a strangle. I want to make sure I'm giving you the right answer here, because again, as long as I've been doing this, I still always confuse those two for some reason. You think I'd have it down pat by now, but generally speaking, I would say SPY for me, I'm looking for a little bit more directional. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So I don't know if there's really a great way to do that, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I think SPY is a little bit more directional, unless you're talking about like FOMC or something like that, where you're going to have potentially big moves going in both directions. If you could time it right, a straddle winds up being pretty good, or even if it doesn't whipsaw really hard, if you have a really, hard directional move, your calls or puts tend to more than offset any losses from the side that doesn't pay out. So I think that straddles on SPY or SPX are really kind of only makes sense during certain events like that, right? Like an FOMC or something where we know the market is going to have a big reaction up or down, and potentially going both directions, where you could theoretically hit on both sides. I would say if you are looking for something that's a little bit more, how do I take advantage of volatile chop in the markets using SPY, and really in this particular scenario, I would use SPX. And in that case, I would say instead of looking at like a straddle, I would be looking at more of an iron condor, and trying to time the opening of each leg of that iron condor. So for example, if we do the SPY plan one day, and let's say we're breaking out over the call price target, but you don't necessarily want to get in a long options position to play for that upside, go to SPX and sell a put credit spread that would kind of keep you out of the money, as long as SPY doesn't lose the key level from the plan, whether that be the call stop loss average down or the put entry, would be kind of the two that I'd be looking at, and trying to kind of translate SPY to SPX to figure out, okay, what strikes do I want to do? Typically I do 5 wide, so in other words, 2 strikes right beside each other when we're talking about SPX. So when you're doing an iron condor, 5 wide, and then again, if we're breaking out to the call side, sell your put credit spread. If we're breaking out to the put side, sell your call credit spread, right? And then as we reach like a PT2 or PT3 for the day, so like let's say you start off with just using a hypothetical, let's say you start off by selling your put credit spread as SPY breaks out over the call entry. We get up to PT2, PT3 for calls. That's when I would sell my call credit spread and turn it into an iron condor, with the expectation that we're within a volatile range, and that volatility is going to juice up the premiums on your options contracts, but ultimately we're looking at sideways direction. Does that answer your question, Mike? And I would do 2 5 wide spreads on each side for that iron condor, right? And make sure you're a little bit out of the money. If you're looking to kind of capture premiums from volatile chop, that is the best way I can think of to do it. I'm sure somebody has some other more complex option strategy that I'm not considering. So 5 wide, what does that mean? So 5 wide is, for example, if we take a look at, let's just pull up the SPX chart real quick. That'll make things, not there though. It's gonna make it crazy. So if we look at, like, right now, SPX is sitting at 56.75, right? So if we're breaking out to the upside, you would sell a, let's say 56.60 put, right, is the one that you would sell, and then you would buy, and then you would buy a 56.55 put. So there's a $5 difference between the strike prices. That's a much easier way for me to explain that. I don't know why I made that overly complicated. There's a $5 difference between the two strikes that you're selling. So you're selling the closer to the money strike, buying the further from the money strike to capture credit on the difference between those two strikes. I would say, generally speaking, if you're selling a 5-wide, credit spread and volatility is fairly high and you're not selling it like super far out of the money, generally speaking, you could expect to collect about $1 to $1.50, somewhere in that range of premium on SPX. So, $100 to $150. So when you think about these credit spreads, and this is kind of the other important part of this scenario that I don't want folks to be surprised by if they decide to attempt this at some point. Really, I'd rather have a longer conversation about how to do it than kind of suggesting anybody go out and do that right away. So let's say you collect about, $1.25 in premium, then, in that particular scenario, your max return on selling that put credit spread in this particular scenario would be $125. Your max loss would be $375, right? So you actually are upside down from a risk reward standpoint in that your max loss is greater than your max gain potential. However, your odds of those contracts expiring worthless and you collecting the full premium is something like, I think, 80%. Or again, a lot of that has to do with the strikes that you're selling too. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. Did that answer your questions, Mike? I know it's not necessarily the question you were asking, but I think what you're trying to do, it sounds like, is not, a straddle is not the right approach, in my personal opinion. So, with that being said, do credit spreads, and you can do credit spreads on both sides, right? What's up, K Money? Good morning. What's up, Tony? Good morning. Good morning, New Trader. Good morning to you. Thanks for helping out with this answer real quick also. So credit spreads, right? So you're selling a put credit spread and a call credit spread, becomes an iron condor at that point. The other interesting part about iron condors is essentially you need $500 in buying power to be able to cover the spread, to cover that 5-wide spread when you sell the first spread. So let's say you sell that put credit spread. When you go to sell that call credit spread, it doesn't actually require any additional buying power to do it. So technically, that second leg that you open up of the iron condor, that second 2-leg position of the iron condor, isn't going to require any additional buying power for you. So now you have to be careful, right? Because if you time that incorrectly, you could ultimately take a loss on one side, and even if you take a max win on the other side, you still come out red at the end of the day, right? So it's definitely a more complex strategy. It's something I'd be happy to spend some time talking about at some point. But if you're looking to capture dollars and capitalize on volatile, choppy markets, iron condors is the way to go, in my opinion. So, all right, let's get into some trade plan reviews, and then we'll get to some new ticker requests. We've got BlackRock here in the, what's up, Veritas? Good morning to you. Already with BlackRock. For those of you in Discord, feel free to start dropping some ticker requests. Let's get ready to do some trade planning here this morning. All right, so NVIDIA has given us a downside entry already this week, played out for some price targets to the downside. Looks to be breaking back down below the put entry, never got back above the put stop loss average down here, so really kind of nice rejection off that yesterday after the FOMC rate decision, and the press conference that Jerome Powell had. They definitely talked up tariff inflation quite a bit, so keep your eyes on what is happening with tariffs. Not that I probably need to remind anybody about that, but if we don't start easing off on some of these things, I think that's kind of the thing that has been keeping the market afloat is the assumption that this whole tariff thing is just posturing and they aren't actually going to go into effect at any point. When they start to kick in, I think the market's going to react very negatively. So pay very close attention to that kind of stuff. I could be totally wrong about that, but the Fed numerous times yesterday, plural, said, we're trying to essentially figure out how do we gauge normal inflation and tariff inflation, and how do we separate the two and make sure that we're not, adjusting our policy based on tariffs, which may ultimately be temporary. They also might not be temporary. So it puts everything in a very uncertain place, which is why we're not seeing a lot of a lot of decisions being made by the market at this point. So Nvidia, again, playing out very whipsaw choppy, but ultimately this one has been on the bearish side of things since we did this trade plan. Never gave us a good break on the call side. This week we did start off above it, but immediately dropped down below it as soon as the market opened there on Monday, and it's been kind of bearish plays, short the rips ever since, maybe with the exception of that move there yesterday, but even then that has ultimately resulted in what looks like a pretty good short the rip opportunity. So again, I said this yesterday in the chat, kind of continues to be my mindset. If it helps you invert the chart, right, in TradingView, what is that? Is it Alt-I? Yeah, Alt-I. So then it looks like the price is moving up when it's moving down, if that helps you. Flip the TradingView chart if you have a hard time visualizing, how to play for downside and you're just so locked in for upside plays. Just flip the chart. Makes it a lot easier. All right, so anyway, Nvidia has been downside all week, looking good. SoFi, on the other hand, has given us some upside opportunities. Didn't quite play out this first attempt to break out, so I was a little bit disappointed to see that. It did break back down below the stop loss and did trigger a stop out, at least for me personally. But ultimately, yesterday did give a breakout and had a great run once that FOMC information came out, ran us right up to PT2, so made back my losses and then some yesterday on SoFi this week. So sometimes that happens and you just got to stick to the plan. Seems to be grabbing this 200 SMA and trying to build some confluence here around 1260. So SoFi looking pretty decent as far as SoFi versus the markets overall. So keep an eye on it. I think 1260 is still a pretty fair share price on it, if I'm being perfectly honest. XYZ or Square, Block, whatever they're called these days. This one's been upside all week and really kind of helped capitalize and maximize that upside yesterday, getting very close to PT3 for calls. Pulling back with the market here this morning. It's also getting up toward the higher, the more challenging selling pressure, if we're kind of thinking about these SMAs as an area of selling pressure. As we get closer and closer to that 333, that selling pressure ramps up until we hit it, and it continues to be something. Did I lose anybody or anything? Is everything still up and running? Still live over here. Yep, I'm still good on Discord. Sorry, I'm trying to reorient everything here. This is super annoying, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. Yeah, sorry about that. It's this docking station that I have, and I just set up my ultra wide monitor on it. I think the problem is that I'm trying to run it through a Thunderbolt connection, and I probably just need to be direct HDMI and direct power into this laptop, because I think it's just too much juice in the laptop for the docking station. So anyway, my apologies. Excellent connection. As the stream picked back up on the YouTube side of things, can you guys see that okay? Veritas, as far as what should you do when you hit all the price targets and the stock keeps going, the best advice I can give you is just continue to chase the price action with stops. Don't be greedy, right? Even if the price continues up. Yeah, again, it depends on how much time. There's a lot of factors involved. Me personally, I try to just stay 100% disciplined. I don't try to spend too much time too many trading hours looking in the rear view about, potential profits that I left on the table. If you're trading smart, you're always going to leave money on the table. Just is what it is. So yeah, I would say just chase things with stops. Um, but anyway, it is what it is. So, um, yeah, I'd be very careful trying to chase above PT3 or below PT3 for calls or puts. Just, consider it a good trade, look for the next setup and move your money into that, right? We've kind of hit all the targets. The plan was a success. Let's not try to sort of wring every last penny out of it. If you have a ton of time, then, by all means, just continue to move your stops up. So, anyway, it is what it is. So let's get to it. Again, NVIDIA downside, SoFi upside, XYZ upside. We had laser on Tuesday's live stream earlier this week. That one is playing out for PT1 here. I did mention that I did take shares on this back test back here of the call entry after we did the plan. So I hope folks loaded that with me. I'm planning on holding for at least 916 and then selling some covered calls at that point. So anyway, that's the laser trade plan. What was the other one that we did? I know we had at least one more, right? Let me see if I can find it here in my let's see. That was I need to find a better way to label these. But I'll figure it out. That's Thursday's plan 2, maybe C? That's laser. Sorry. This is a new little system I'm working on. PDD, that's what it was. I knew we did another one. So PDD, Pin Duo Duo. This one is dumping this morning. Let's get here to current. So yeah, this one's dumping this morning on earnings. Dropped down to PT1 for puts, but it's back testing the put entry. So this one could be a decent short entry as long as it stays below 125.57. Yeah, I kind of like it as a short, kind of anywhere in that range, but be very, 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 very careful. 3-day rule on things that just released earnings report. In my personal opinion, no need to try to force or chase anything trade wise there. So PDD playing out this morning, but kind of not all that actionable from a option standpoint because the move and price targets are hitting outside of market hours, but we are back testing. Just be very careful with that earnings report having just kicked in and going to cause some continued volatility there. No, I didn't. New trader, I didn't post an actual alert for laser. That's my apologies. I've just got all kinds of craziness going on, and that's going to be the case for probably the next couple of months as I work on moving my office and staff and everybody from one building to another. We've got a big move coming up in May, and it's been a little bit of a distraction. I'm all over the place, needless to say, but that'll be temporary, and I'm still keeping my eyes on things, using alerts and trade plan navigator and stuff like that to stay on top of stuff and trying to not let it distract me too much. That's what I have employees for. So all right, so let's dig in. Let's get going. What are our, we had BlackRock, so that's the first one. Let's go with BlackRock. All right, BLK. Need trade plan pilot right now. BlackRock, yeah, not one. I don't think I've ever traded or charted BlackRock. So congrats, you found one that I have not analyzed previously. Ooh, nice bounce there out of that weekly. Man, perfect catch. Ooh, 2 perfect catches. Man, I need to start watching this one on Neptune. Seriously, that's a fantastic confluence setup there on the weekly, and that's a really nice bounce that it caught there so far on the weekly as well. But let's hide it for right now so I can focus on these candlesticks, and let's get some charting done. All right. Yeah, I'm not seeing much else here on this weekly chart that looks super helpful. All right. Let's find these levels. Sorry, just getting a little in my own brain here as I'm trying to spot some of these levels. BlackRock is one of these that doesn't have like a really wild bid-ask spread. Yeah, low volume. So be pretty careful with this one. It does have, like I said, pretty crazy bid-ask spread. So definitely no market orders on this one. And just make sure that you're not getting filled or buying at the ask, because that's going to set you behind the eight ball potentially significantly. All right, so Meta, yeah, we'll take a look at that for sure. And new trader, just to give you some thoughts, like my cost per share is $7 on laser, so we are not that far removed from what my personal cost is. So feel free to go for it. I think it's still got a lot of potential, despite me forgetting to alert it. Yes, I did. I bought a few hundred shares. I'd be willing to buy a few hundred more in the 580 to 530 range. I'd cut the shares entirely below 530. And again, looking to sell covered calls somewhere around PT2 or PT3, so 813 to 916, somewhere in that range, preferably 916, sell some covered calls for 950 or $10 strikes, with a little bit of time, depending on what the premiums look like and all that sort of stuff. So that's my quick thoughts on laser as we work on this trade plan. All right, let's get, trying to kind of speed this up, but BlackRock does, because it's a little bit low volume, kind of make it's a little harder to track support resistance, I guess is the right way to say that. All right. Oh, looks pretty good. I wish I could use all of this widescreen. All right. But if I did that, it would make the screen look super crazy for you guys. So, got to use half the screen. Yeah, there's not really anything in there, actually. Okay, so let's take a look at this on the hourly. We'll fill in the blanks as we put together this plan, as I see the key levels. Interesting confluence right there. There's also a level here we'll want to pay attention to. Could be just a... No, I think it's pretty good right there. I think we just rejected shy of it. I think I just messed up where I had it, though. There we go. That looks pretty good. All right. So I think we've got an entry opportunity over 974.94. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't take some profit there at 990. Stop loss average down. That's a big question mark for me right now. Let's see. Actually, let me turn these indicators off again real quick. I just wanted to see where my confluences were, but I want to make sure that we're not holding a dead trade for too long. I also want to make sure that we're not getting shook out over a few dollars. Yeah, there's kind of a little range in here, but I'm going to go with the further, give this trade a little bit more room to work out. They're at 964.23 over that. Sorry, over PT1, 990.37. I think we do need to scale some out at this weekly level. I know it's kind of a quick PT1, PT2, but there's a couple of key resistances there for sure. And then, yeah, I think we do have a chance to get up to this 1014 level. That's PT1, 2, 3 for the upside. And our stop loss average down. Downside does look a bit interesting. Low. Yeah, 934.38 looks like a really good short entry. Or is there an earlier entry? I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit torn here on this. Where these levels need to be. Actually, you know what? Let's switch this up. Hopefully I'm not being too aggressive. I think there is a chance here though, or a good opportunity. We can actually flip this to be in PT1. Continue to use that stop loss from the upside trade plan, PT2. Down here at 923.70. And then PT3, let's take a look at this on the regular trading hours. I want to see how this gap actually looks down here. Because it's kind of, this is not one that trades with any real volume during. Yeah, and that gap fill pretty much puts us right at that weekly level. Probably just a little bit shy. It's actually $1 or so. It looks small because we're pretty zoomed out, but I think that dollar could make a difference between getting a perfect exit and holding too long and having it bounce and losing some profit. So, all right, let's plug in our trade plan pilot levels here. For those of you who already have this indicator, feel free to follow along. It is free for paying Xtrades members. And 1014.07. Stop loss average down at 964.23. Put entry 950.55. 34.38. 923.70. And 901.82. Stop loss average down. Share with the upside there at 964.23. So we'll plug that in there. Get our shared stop loss. Okay. Oh, helps if I have my indicators turned on. There we go. All right, and let's make a little tiny tweak to this offset for these labels so this chart looks nice when I... Whoa, shoot. Sorry. My mouse wheel I didn't realize was still spinning. Come on. Oh, that's right, because this is only like thousands, so I'm going to have to really move this to get these labels to shift. There we go. That looks good. Okay. So, this is what we're looking at on BlackRock. Sorry, this one took me a moment. Good stuff, Trading Dad. Happy to hear that. All right, and let me get this over in the Elite chat. And let me grab my link. Get that into the pilot so we can set our alerts. We'll do these on the hour, or no, 30-minute. We're already on regular trading hours, so let's set up our alerts. Trade plan pilot, any alert, perfect. Go until next Thursday, end of day. And this is BLK Thurs live stream 320. All right, so that'll pump our alerts into the Discord for. So what are we looking for here on BlackRock? We're looking for a break over 974.94. That should give us targets at 990.37, 999.55, and 1014.07 with a stop loss average down at 964.23. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 950.55 with targets at 934.38, 923.70, and 901.82 with a shared stop loss average down with that upside trade plan there at 964.23. That is your BlackRock live stream plan. Let's go. You're very welcome. Unknown reviews. All right, I saw Meta, but do we have any other ticker requests? Not that I'm trying to avoid. TSL from Newton. I'm just trying to do these in the order in which they came in. Let's see. I've also got some stuff. Iron Condor. Yep. Thanks. Not taking any response. Yeah. Metal manufacturing is already hiking their pricing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I had to get all of these orders for server equipment, furniture. I mean, like everything that I had to order for this move that's coming up in May had to be ordered by the end of February, or everything was getting hit with like 10 or 15% increases. So anybody that's telling you that tariffs don't cause inflation is either incredibly ignorant and foolish or just flat out lying to you. So that's my take on that. TSL. So this, I'm sorry, was that a ticker request, new trader, TSL? You want to take a look at this? This is like almost, it's a small leveraged ETF. Kind of an interesting, I've not seen this before. I mean, obviously I'm aware of TSLL. I guess this one deals with less decay, which is probably a plus. What's the volume like on this thing? Super low. All right, let's take a something. It's looking like I'm only gonna have time for one more. Let's take a look at both these charts, or maybe I can do Meta real try this again. My apologies, folks. I've apologized several times for technical difficulties without you guys hearing it, and I'm apologizing again. I'm going to get rid of this docking station or find a better solution because for whatever reason, it's fine all the rest of the time, but as soon as I start trying to do a live stream, it's like every once in a while it just decides to go ape shit and make me look bad. So enough of that. Let's I'll come up with something better as far as my setup here goes. But yeah, this NVIDIA GPU and this laptop I think is just too much to try to push data and power through even a Thunderbolt 4 connection. So I am realizing that now, and I will make adjustments. Again, my apologies. Trying to figure out where this, yeah, I was kind of eyeballing these levels. I'm gonna go with, give this a little bit more room to work out considering we're in a more volatile market right now, down to 583.28. Stop loss for that upside plan. I think we can share that stop loss and we can play puts below this double bottom here at 574.83. First target, I do like, yeah, that looks really good actually. I like this 565.01. Second target down here between these two levels. I think we can go ahead and go with 5. In fact, these are old fib extensions, and I think we've actually found the real levels. So I'm going to hide this one level for now. All right, cool. So let's get back to real time here. Let's put in our trade plan pilot levels. Again, my apologies for the technical difficulties. I will come up with a better solution before our Tuesday live stream next week, or I'll just do it from home. One of the two. My home setup is good to go. I don't know why this docking station at my office is just being such a pain. And it only happens during live streams, so of course. All right, put entry 574.83, 565.01, 556.46, and 549.21. Stop loss average down at 583.28, shared with the upside trade plan. All right, cool. Trade plan pilot. Let's go ahead and you know what? I'll just do it this way for now. It's easier. All right, that looks good. You have a call on Meta? Okay, I'll take a quick look. All right, and then let me get this message link. It's set up. Whoops, wrong thing. Here we go. All right, let's get our alert set. 30 minutes. Regular trading hours. Alert. Trade plan pilot. Any alert. Give it a week. Right, alerts are in. So what are we looking for here? On Meta, we are looking for a break above 590.09. That should give us targets at 681, 613.77, and 625.83. Stop loss average down at 583.28. Put entry is at 574.83. That should give us targets at 565.01, 556.46, and 549.21 with a shared stop loss average down at 583.28. VK's question was, should he exit? Or he or she, I'm assuming he, which could be very incorrect. YouTube is still frozen. Oh, shit. Why is YouTube still frozen? Well, I don't know what to do about that. Sorry, Susan. My apologies. I will try to avoid this ever. Oh, it's good now? Okay, good. Sorry, I didn't realize that we were having those issues. Okay, all right, cool. All right, sorry about that, folks. Again, I'm going to totally cut this docking station out of my scenario here now that it's done this to us twice. It, again, never does this when I'm not live streaming, so I don't know what it is about these live streams, but it's probably just trying to... Too much laptop, not enough docking station, essentially. So, VK, back to your question. Should you exit today? Upside momentum, how does it look? I mean, if you're green, I would certainly look to exit. Yeah, it's kind of rocking a hard place here, right? We've got Neptune kind of adding some support pretty close to that put entry key support level, but the 200 and the 333 are overhead, giving you some confluence there at 590.09. I mean, this one just looks super choppy, so I you know, it depends on how much time, what your strikes are. There's a lot involved there. I would say keep a close eye on it. If you see a chance to exit for green or break even, I would go ahead and take it and then watch this plan and look to re-enter based on a plan, based on this plan. So that's kind of the best advice I can give at this point. So with that being said, I want to thank you all again for bearing with me and for joining me this morning. I want to apologize again for the technical difficulties. I will get this sorted out and we'll get this docking station out of my life as far as the one that I'm using here at the office, because it seems to be the root of these issues. But anyway, I'll get that squared away. So with that being said, I will see you guys back here next Tuesday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our next Xtrades FOMO live stream. Until then, as we always say on the FOMO live streams, plan your trades, trade your plans. Go out there, get some green, keep your wins big, keep those losses small. I hope you guys have a fantastic day and an excellent weekend. I will see you next Tuesday. Thanks again. And again, my apologies for the technical difficulties. I'll get that out of the mix before we do the next one. So until then, take care. I will see you guys in the chat. Talk to you soon.